Hey, freaks and geeks. I am one of those individuals that love to go camping. I love to just hop on the trails, go out there, a nice little trail, enjoy the scenery. And then when you get to that edge of the trail and you get to that little mountaintop or whatever it may be, being able to relax, open up a nice cold bottle of water or whatever it may be, and sit down and just enjoy the end. You know what? A lot of times it's hard to lug a giant chair with you or find a place to sit. Well, we partnered up with an amazing company, and they have figured out a way to create a camping chair like no other. I'm telling you, this chair is just over 2 pounds, and the chair is super portable. It folds up really nice and neat, and the space it takes in your bag is almost nil. It's crazy. And right now you can get it 20% off by putting RBS20 in the checkout. Go to KNC Outdoors and enjoy this chair. You will not regret it.
Rooster Fat is where it's at. Oh, he's all that, and that's a fact, you know it. He's the king of the podcasting thing.
Hello, freaks and geeks. This is Dave Cadena, and you're joining us with the one and the amazing Travis, the TV's only individual to know everything there is about movies and folk culture and more, right?
Oh boy.
Yeah. So Travis, man, I'm enjoying the blue hair. It's one of the first podcasts I ever got to go on, was your podcast. And we got to watch the wonderful Kiss, Kiss, Bang, Bang, Robert Downey Jr. flick. Still to this day, I have to rewatch it because I think it's important to look at that journey and then look at where we are now. You with your insight and all that stuff, you definitely helped me become a better kind of person. And when it comes to podcasting world, I'm going to take you taught me a lot of stuff so that way I can be able to actually have my picture show nicely on camera and be like this beautiful face that I am today, So anyway, enough about me. How are you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I, one day at a time. I mean, that's all you really can do. But yeah, things have been interesting, I would say, for over the last few months. Being somebody doing a show and actually starting a second show helps a lot because it keeps me busy and it keeps me from dwelling on all the crap that's going on.
Yeah. So you actually have 2 shows now, right? You have the you haven't seen, and then you have something about a Highlander original series.
Yeah, let's watch Highlander, which is myself and Oddly Normal One are going through episode by episode for Highlander the series, which is the television series from the mid 90s based on the movie from the mid 80s.
Based on real life, because Connor McLeod.
Absolutely. The Highlanders, the immortals walk among us. We just don't know.
Well, at this point in time, do you think that there's only one?
Oh, geez.
It's 2020, so
it's hard to say because the fifth movie I think takes place around 2020. Although I try not to think about that movie too much.
I don't think.
Yes, there are 5 of them, and they get worse. And if you've ever seen Highlander 2, you know how low a bar that is set, and they get worse after that.
So Highlander 2, is that the one with Sean Connery?
Sean Connery's in the first 2, yeah.
Okay. And if I remember correctly,
he's in the first 2 movies as Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez.
That's right, the Spaniard.
Although he's Egyptian. He just has a Spanish name. And he's played by a Scotsman, which makes perfect sense in a movie where a Frenchman is playing a Scotsman. So, it all tracks.
Yep.
It makes sense if you don't think about it too much.
Well, I'm glad we don't think about anything too much. So you were telling me earlier that you had an amazing lunch.
Yeah. So a few weeks ago, in an effort to, I like to cook. I like to cook a lot, but I get stagnant and I start cooking the same things over and over. And then I get to the point where it's like, oh, I don't want to make these things anymore. So then I start eating out more, start getting more delivery. It gets expensive. So I thought, you know what? I need something. I need to mix it up. So I started using Blue Apron, one of the meal prep kit services. I looked at a bunch of different ones and I finally decided, you know what? Blue Apron had the menu that I liked. So it's not an endorsement. They don't pay me to say anything.
So tell us more. Blue Apron. I'm going to sponsor.
Now, Blue Apron, if you want to.
I mean, we're not arguing. Like, I'm willing to eat good food. So,
right. But it's nice because they send you everything. So you get a selection of usually like somewhere between 9 and 12 different options, and you get. I have a plan where it's 3 meals a week, and they're meals for 2, so I can kind of stretch them out and make them, you know, dinner one night, lunch the next day, leftover type of thing. But what's great is, you know, they have a wide variety. There's all sorts of beef, pork, chicken, seafood, vegetarian stuff. There's low carb. There's
keto friendly,
keto friendly, all that.
Yeah,
and everything comes individually, like portioned. So you get everything portioned out for whatever one you're doing. So today was I had these. They were a black bean flauta. So I had black beans and, you know, some spices, and then you'd cook those down. And they had a poblano and tomatillo salsa, like a salsa verde. Mix in a little bit of that, and then once that's all cooked down, you kind of smash up, almost like making refried beans, but real quick. And then throw them in with some cheese and some pickled jalapenos, and mix that up. Put that into your tortilla, and then fry those tortillas. And so that with like a cabbage slaw as a side. They were really good. But I have
10 out of 10 would
I'm
recommend?
on week. I would. So I've been getting 3 meals a week. I think I am on week, I want to say 6 or 7 now. I'd have to go back and look. Of the recipes I've gotten, there have been 2 that I didn't love and would make a second time.
Okay.
One of those was a tilapia one. And the reason wasn't that the recipe was bad. It was that I realized I don't really like tilapia. Tilapia is just kind of boring.
It's a dirty fish. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to it.
Tilapia exists to bring sauce to my face.
That's a fish that you use for beer batter and fries.
Right. And if I'm going to do that, I'm going to get cod, or I'm going to get some whitefish.
Exactly.
Some lake whitefish or something.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so that one's not great. And then another one was not so much, again, the recipe wasn't that bad. It was a roasted vegetables and some tofu and stuff like that. I was trying a little vegetarian thing. It was fine, but I either needed to squeeze more moisture out of the tofu, or it needed to be cooked hotter to crisp it up. Like the texture was not great, and it just kind of tasted.
Have you had tofu before? Like,
yeah, I've had it before. And if you cook it well enough and you get a good sear on it, and it could have just been, you know, that very well could have been my fault. But like everything else has been great. I've had the flautas today. I had this kale and potato hash where
that sounds bomb.
Cook everything in a big cast iron skillet and then crack a couple eggs and throw it in the oven.
Okay.
That was killer. I've had salmon a couple different times. It's been great. So they did mess up one week. I was supposed to get shrimp for something, and they didn't send shrimp. They sent chicken. So I got.
It's a chicken. The chicken is the shrimp of the land. You know, it's
exactly.
it's the chicken of the land. It's fine.
But you know, they discounted one of my boxes for the oops. I mean, it was their mistake. Everything was right. It's just that one ingredient, they threw chicken in there instead of the shrimp.
Yeah, and
they're good about communicating too, which was nice. Like if there was an issue they had with onions, where because I don't know exactly where they source everything, which maybe I should pay more attention to that. But they found an issue with the onions from where they were getting them, so they were not sending onions for quite a few of their recipes. They were usually like throwing shallots in if they could, or some sort of a substitution. But they're great about preemptively telling you, like, okay, we're having an issue with this ingredient, so if you have anything that's using this ingredient, here's what you could be getting.
Yeah,
type of stuff.
That's good.
So it's been great. It's been a wonderful experiment. I don't know how much longer I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for a little while and kind of build up a recipe kind of repertoire. and then I can always pause or pick it back up later.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, they're not cheap boxes. Like I think we did a Blue Apron, or it's Counter whatever the other one is, and I want to say that the boxes for a family of 4, now mind you, family of 4 is a little different. I understand that, but they weren't exactly like the cheapest. Like they're about $10 a plate.
Yeah, that's roughly what it comes out to. Is about $10 a plate. But
if you're going to go out,
what I did was, I'm easily going to spend that or more.
Yeah.
But what I did too was I augmented, and I realized, okay, so if I'm putting in the effort to cook these things, then I can go a little cheaper on some of my other meals, and I'm also, my grocery bill when I go to the grocery store is a lot less because half my week is taken up with that. Now, you got a family of 4, it's going to be a very different thing, and it's definitely going to be a your mileage may vary type of situation.
Yeah.
Like what works for me isn't going to work for everybody, or I'm not a picky eater, which helps a lot too. Like I'm willing to, I'm going to try this. I'll try this out. I've never made this or this type of cuisine, or it's got, whatever it is. So I don't have a problem experimenting, but I like the concept and the idea of it. And if nothing else, what it's doing is it's giving me some different ideas of stuff that I can try. So, like seeing how easy it was to do these beans today. And I'm like, I could do this anytime. Just a can of beans, you drain them, you cook them up. Like I can make up my own little spice rub, but it's the type of thing where I need that, sort of that influence or that catalyst. Like one of them I had earlier this week, it was a steak, and you cook the steak up, and then as the steaks are resting, take some mushrooms, throw them in the pan and cook those down, and then you throw in like some balsamic vinegar and a little sugar and make a little balsamic sauce out of it.
Okay.
Like, this is the kind of stuff I don't think to do on my own. I should be better at it by now, as much as I cook, but to have that written out and like, oh yeah, that's super easy. And now I can do that anytime because I've got half the ingredients and I have a recipe that tells me what's in there. So yeah, it's been great. And we're getting into soup weather, right?
It is definitely getting soup weather. I think today,
and it gets cold here.
I want to say today we reached like 88 degrees in Bakersfield. And so like we almost got out the sweaters. It was pretty chilly. Like we're not gonna lie, like we were like, man, this is kind of cold.
Well, it's also been like 300 degrees every day there this summer. Yeah,
so I mean,
I get it.
And then of course we haven't been outside much, so I got this. The sun is no longer my friend situation going on. Well, I just started work, like been going to work every day this last 2 weeks. Like it's been hit or miss. Like the PPP has been paying for me to stay home. So I'm happy about that. But that also means that I am not acclimated to any of this weather whatsoever. I can't even like fathom the outside temperature of being 100 degrees. Like that's just not even a thing I even imagine anymore. So it's a new world that we live in for sure.
Yeah. How's the air quality been for you there?
Awful. Just
I can imagine.
I think our index was unbreathable the other day. Yeah. So where I live is like I live in like a horseshoe where all the mountains just kind of surround us, and then like the air from LA already comes over the hill and like gets blockaded in our area. So it's just like a cesspool of bad pollution and all that crap. And then now all these fires, they're coming down and they can't get up over the mountain. So they stay in our freaking area. And it's just like, the San Joaquin Valley is just a god awful place to be. And besides the fact that, so today, like no bullshit. I had to go to Walmart and we're like, hey, really quick do some errands. And as I'm pulling into the parking lot, there's a big old, like one side of the corner is all like Super Trumpers and the other side of the corner is all BLM. And I'm just like,
oh boy.
Yeah, I don't think I want to, I don't think I want to go shopping here right now.
Maybe I don't need to go here that bad. I can come back later.
This doesn't seem like a good place for me right now.
No.
Yeah, it was I mean, I managed to navigate through all of it. We all know it's a crazy day. So I'm sure everybody's aware of the news. Yeah, I don't really need to bring it all up, but it's been a crazy day.
Yeah, I can imagine. You know, and that's one, like, I live in northern lower Michigan. A place so nice you have to use 2 directional words to find it. But I count myself lucky. I complain a lot about winter
Yeah.
because it gets cold here and it snows a lot, and you know, winter is 9 months out of the year. But
I used to live
for as much as I complain,
Go ahead.
as much as I complain about the cold weather and, you know, 18 feet of snow and whatever else that goes on, I don't have to deal with hurricanes.
Yeah.
I rarely, if ever, have to deal with tornadoes. I have experienced an earthquake in my entire life here, which was weird. Just because like that never happens here.
Yeah.
It felt like a garbage truck was driving right by my bedroom window.
Oh wow.
And just sort of jostled me awake. And I was like, why is the what? And I fell back asleep. And we don't have like wildfires and air quality issues most of the time.
Yeah.
So
here we don't really have a whole lot of like we're not really in the earthquake area. Like earthquake surrounds us. We'd be in the perfect location for beachfront property. However, if a nice San Andreas Fault, if it was to go, we'd have beachfront property. Like we'd be set. Like that's why I bought the house where I bought it, so that way I'm in preparation. But other than
you're
that,
set
like,
for when California breaks off into the ocean. In Arizona Bay.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just gone. It's going to be all right. Perfect. I'm but then we have horrible smog. We have god awful politicians. It's just. I mean, there's other than the taxes just killing us and all that other crap. There's no other good reason to be in California. So. I used to live in North Dakota, though, so I understand the snow.
Yeah. North Dakota definitely gets snow. And, you know, North Dakota gets snow worse than us because it's the plains. Like that's so it's also interesting because we get a lot of snow here, but my hometown is situated right on water. So a lot of the heavy snowfall kind of floats over us because there's this like protective bubble of the water.
Yeah, you guys live in the dome.
It's kind of, yeah. Now I don't. This winter is going to be interesting because I moved slightly outside of town, so I'm up on the they call it the moraine, where basically 200,000 years ago or whenever the glaciers were still around, they dug out all the Great Lakes, and where they came across here, they put a bunch of sediment down. So it's like it's up a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm just going to get destroyed with snow, but we'll see. I just bought this house this spring, so I don't know what I'm in for yet. But
hopefully it's
overall,
not as
I can't complain.
Yeah,
I really can't complain because, like I say, I've lived through hurricanes.
Yeah,
so I've experienced that, and I would take 10 months of winter over another hurricane.
You just add another month every other conversation.
It feels like it sometimes. It really does.
So when I lived in North Dakota, they said that only one day in its entirety has never had snow on in North Dakota where I was stationed in Minot. So they're like, every day in this part of North Dakota has at least had snow on it, except for this one day in July that it did not have snow on it. So I'm just like, so you mean to tell me that it snows 12 months out of the year here? Like, there's a possibility.
That's potential, yeah. I can remember having my freshman year of high school. I was on the baseball team. We had games canceled because of snow in May, like late May.
That's crazy.
It's just, yeah,
and it was
nuts.
Like where I was at, like you can see, it's so flat that you can literally see the ocean. Like if you really wanted to,
you can.
Like,
you can
there's
see
the ocean right there.
The
Flat earthers, move to North Dakota. You're guaranteed to see the curvature.
Yeah, it's there. Trust me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We had snow in July. This is Ace is saying that they had snow in July in Pennsylvania. I believe it. I believe it.
Oh, I've had that. I've had that here. You know, I've had July days where it's been 102 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
and when you could still go places. Our local theater. So we have like the normal chain multiplex theater, but then we
Yeah.
have this little art house one that got reopened about, I guess it was like 10 years ago now. And it's sort of this movie palace, but they're right in the middle of our downtown. And this is a huge tourist town. So, summertime, it's really, really busy in our downtown. And what they do is if it ever goes above 100 degrees on the Mercury, movies are free for the day.
Oh,
So that's happened quite a few times. And I've also had days in July and August where it's gotten down to freezing.
that's crazy.
One of our big crops
Do you have
around
to
here, it's
pay
a lot of
double for that?
farmland. I wish. No, I don't wish, but it's a lot. So it's interesting. It's touristy, but then it's also a lot of farms.
Yeah.
So the big crops around here are cherries and hops. And also grapes. There's a lot of wineries, but we've had like years where, you know, the cherry crop just gets destroyed because it'll be late May, early June, and they'll get a sudden frost and just kills everything.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's been farms, family members and friends of mine I know that nearly lost their farm because of stuff like that.
Yeah,
The hops seem to be more resilient for some reason.
it depends on what hops you're using. I think like if you're using them and they're already in a can, you should be good.
Well, they get there. They get there pretty quick.
Yeah.
There's two things we have around here is a lot of wineries and a lot of breweries because, well, it's cold a lot and there's not much to do but drink.
Yep, I understand that 100%. North Dakota, the same thing. We have strip clubs, but you don't want to go in them.
Nope.
You leave your car running no matter where you are. And yeah, you kind of have to trust your neighbor. It's basically a serial killer's dream, you know, like your car's always running. You have to trust your neighbor. And yeah, you don't want to let anybody out in there freezing out there in the snow.
You just don't trust anybody that has a wood chipper and you're fine.
Yeah.
If somebody's got a wood chipper, you give
an
them a wide
axe
berth.
is not a wood chipper.
I've seen Fargo.
An axe
No,
is not
it's
a wood
not.
chipper.
No.
All right. And you have to bring them in because they're guaranteed to be loggers with all those trees that you have in Michigan.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And then of course, you have to use the rakes to clean up all the leaves in California.
Yeah, I should probably own I think I own a rake, but I don't know that I'm going to rake my yard. I'm just going to let it.
You just
do what it
purchased another
does.
lawnmower, didn't you? Or didn't you get one of those riding lawnmowers?
No, I need to though, because my push mower, it's a self-propelled, but it's too short for me.
Yeah.
So mowing my lawn is torturous.
I thought you said you were going to have your dad do it for you.
He actually almost did, and then I just kind of had a freak out moment. Went and I mowed my front yard.
Yeah.
And then I got up close to the house and I found out that there are wasp nests in the front of my house.
Oh.
And so I said, well, the stuff by the house can stay. And I turned right around. Like, I'll wait till it gets cold enough that I can go out and kill all the wasps. So, I've got like a jungle in the front of my house.
Are they
now.
still there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And in fact, yesterday I was out front and I could see them because it was, so we got a little bit of a warm spell here and it got up to like 80 something.
Yeah.
Yesterday and today and tomorrow, I think. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I got to wait another week or two. But once it gets cold enough that they get tired and they don't move around much, I can take them out. And hopefully they don't come back.
Much like COVID. As long as you just leave it alone, it'll go away. So, man, I'm going to get into these wonderful questions. How long have you been podcasting? Holy shit.
Prospecting.
Yeah. Well, you guys,
1849.
back when I started digging that gold, I was prospecting, and I'm telling you, I got me a nugget, and I thought for sure I was going to get Sally on and she said, no, old Johnny got a bigger nugget than that. Get back to prospecting, you hoe.
Oh. Funny story. I actually met somebody who patented a type of gold finding sluice.
Oh, really?
Back when I worked for a roofing company, probably about 10 years ago, we were at this guy's house doing his roof.
Those
and
are called
he had a bunch of
B&Es,
stuff
man.
in his garage. But it was interesting. So how long have I been podcasting?
Yeah.
So my show, my main show, Wait You Haven't Seen, we just had our 80th episode in 81 weeks. So almost 2 years on that show.
That's pretty awesome. That's really freaking awesome.
I've been doing goofy stuff online for a while. I actually, from 2000 until about 2009, did sketch comedy on a cable access channel. Back before there was YouTube, kids, we had a thing called public access cable. So, you know, that sort of, and then I did college radio as a DJ for a little while too. So podcasting sort of was a logical step. It actually, to be honest, I've been wanting to podcast probably since 2006, but it was always hard for me to find somebody else to work with. And it was really hard to do kind of on my own.
Yeah, because I hear Andy could be pretty difficult.
Yes. But you know, once I finally found a formula that was going to work, I went with it. So coming up on 2 years, it'll be a full 2 years since I started the show in March.
So you did sketch comedy, huh? So how did you get into sketch comedy? Because that's one of that's a goal that I have eventually. Like I know it sounds like a weird goal. Like, hey, you're starting at 38, bro. Like, you know,
hey, you're never too old.
Oh, I know you're never too old, but you know, you're like let's aim lower. You know,
start small.
Why don't you just write a joke? See what that looks like. Yeah, fill
start
that one
with
out.
That and go from there. So I was the kid in high school that would always try to do a video or audio project whenever it was possible in any class.
Mm-hmm.
So I took the radio production class. I took the video production classes. If we were doing something in our English class on King Arthur, we were going to make a video project about King Arthur.
Okay.
And that kind of got started there. It was just because I grew up loving movies and TV and video games, and I love telling stories.
Yeah.
So it started with that. And then I met friends that also were into it. And we had, this was the mid 90s. So we were doing everything with 8mm tape in like Sony Handycams. And we were editing things with literally 2 VCRs connected. So you'd hit play on one VCR and record on the other one. And when you were ready to make your cut, you had to pause them both. And it was, so that's how it got started. We did that all through high school. And the group of us, most of us stayed around after school, at least for a little while. Sketch comedy just sort of was born out of, because everything we did was always these like little vignettes anyway.
Yeah.
So sketch comedy was just an extension of that. We went from school projects to, we're going to do the school projects, but we're also going to do like a short form film for our student film festival, to, hey, we actually, because the town that I'm from, not very big. The metropolitan area, if you want to call it that, I'm using gigantic air quotes here.
Okay.
Is about 100,000 people. And it is by far the most densely populated area within 100 miles of me. So that tells you how rural this area is. So we didn't even get like a good public access cable channel until I was almost 18. But they finally had one. It was at our local library. They let us put stuff on there. They made the mistake one day of saying, well, you guys put your show on at like 11 o'clock at night, so there's no real rules on what you can do. Like,
Oops. No real rules.
You don't know what you've done.
Hi.
They're like, as long as there's no nudity, we're like, well, I think we're safe there.
Yeah.
And we even skirted that one a couple of times, but it was just like a natural progression, and we had a ton of fun with it. The problem with anything like that is there's a shelf life to it.
Yeah.
Before you kind of burn yourself out, because, you know, at one point the group of us, like half of us lived together. You know, we were renting a house, and there was like 4 of us living there.
And that tension builds up.
Yeah, it got to a point where Things we had drifted apart a little bit. There was tension, and
everybody
it
wanted
sort
to
of
kiss
stopped,
each
but
other. Yeah, I get
pretty
it.
much,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But it was so much fun. And I go back and I look at it now. Some of it's been put up on YouTube. Two things that I realized. Number one, boy, is it some of it just bad, like really, really bad. Either not funny or just super not great content wise. Like stuff that if I were doing it now in the climate of today and kind of knowing what I know and being older and being more mature, like they're jokes that I wouldn't make. Some of it is really genuinely funny. It's very absurdist. We were highly influenced by things like Monty Python, Kids in the Hall, even some Saturday Night Live, Mad TV, In Living Color. Those were the kinds of sketch stuff that we
were
did.
definitely doing things some off the cuff, probably not acceptable in today's terms.
Right. Yes. Now none of it was done from a place of like maliciousness.
Yeah.
Like we didn't, we might have had things that today would be frowned upon, but in the time, either it was a product of the time and wasn't as taboo then, and that's not to say that it was right, but it was more easily accepted, but also like some of it was just from a we didn't know better type of thing, and it's the kind of thing where with hindsight you can look back at it and be like, oh, no, that's probably not the way that joke should have gone. Like,
no, but that's one of those things. Like everybody goes, "Oh, let's do this cancel culture. Oh, cancel this person. At one time, he did this." There was definitely a different type of generation. Now, I'm not saying that they should get away with, if they did racial slurs, hey, nail them to the board. I don't care. But if they did some funny jokes and it at the time was acceptable, even though it's not acceptable today, I don't think we should go back like somebody, 20, 30 years. And it's like, oh, Richard Pryor said a lot of this. Well, okay, that's fine. But what are they doing now? Like, did they learn from it? Did they adapt to it?
Right.
And that's part of the issue that I have with this whole cancel this, cancel that. Now, that being said, if you're doing it today and you're like, hey, blank, I think everybody should, go jump off a bridge. Yeah, by all means, like cancel the fucker. Like, bye.
Okay, well, okay. So my example would be this: is what happened with James Gunn was somebody didn't like something that he said, so they dug 10 years back into his Twitter profile, pulled up some really off-color jokes that he made back then. He didn't run from them. He's like, yes, I made those jokes.
Right.
That was during a time where I was being very controversial for the sake of it. It was wrong, but everybody overreacted. He got fired from Marvel. It's all smoothed out, whatever. That was a thing where he had learned and grown from what he was 10 years ago to now.
Yeah.
And he doesn't excuse what he did, and it doesn't make the joke that he made any better or allowable, but he's grown from it. Contrast that with somebody like I don't know, J.K. Rowling, let's say, who's saying things now, and it's like,
who's creating pins. Like, come on, man.
And not only saying things now, but then doubling down on them too.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm going to do an eight-page thread on this. Hang on a sec. Let me fuck up all of your lives real quick. And then creates a character and makes a fucking book about how much she hates trans people and how they're murderous. Like,
no, it's just, I mean, normally I can separate art and artist fairly well. It all depends on, so you're an artist. Most artists are going to do something at some point in your life. You're going to do something shitty. There's just no way around that. You're gonna screw up somewhere. I mean, it's what happens. But what did you do? How bad is that thing that you did? Are you do you have any kind of contrition for what you did? Are you learning from what you did? Are you trying to be a better person? If somebody, a director or a comedian in their early 20s or, even up into like their 30s makes some mistake, and then 10 years later, they're like, yeah, okay, I'm trying to be better than that. I'm not being that type of person anymore. That's one thing. When you're making these comments and you're doing this stuff and you're hurting people on purpose,
Yeah.
and you're doubling down on it. That's even worse. There was a thing recently with Gina Carano where she said some stuff, and I don't think it's so tough because I just don't know enough about the situation to really intelligently speak on it. But what I read, to me, read more as somebody who was ill-informed than it did somebody who was trying to be hurtful.
Okay, so there was a.
Now, I could be wrong on that.
So J.K. Rowling did her thing. All right, then she doubled down by creating like a new book, and then there's this DJ, which is DJ Khalil or something like that, started his whole campaign of fuck pronouns. Like it literally says like he created a floor mat or like a doormat that says you're not welcome they. And yeah, it dude, like this whole thing, like we were talking about it a few episodes ago about how like there's a whole type of system going on right now that is literally just going after people because they want to be who they are, and it's like this whole like there was a thing that came out like how to identify a trans member, and so that they can't even receive certain benefits. The health coverages that just came out are removing trans health coverages, and there's like it's just adding more and more. This administration is just it feels like indoctrinating the trans community and causing like this type of hatred, and it's identifying this trans community who just want to be fucking left alone. They just want to be in a restroom to be able to do their thing, and they don't want to they're not asking for fucking special privileges or anything like that. They want to be left the fucking alone. They want to be like, hey, if you're not going to support me, leave me alone. If you can support me, that's cool, but don't fucking create more problems, more issues. And like, I don't know, 99% Invisible just came out with this new just let me pee, says Ace. Absolutely. And like 99% Invisible came out with their recent episode where they were talking about how, there's a community of LGBT members that are trying to find a suitable way to use a restroom. All right. Because it makes no sense why we have a bathroom that is a male-female side when there's no restrooms for anybody who identifies as an outside gender. All right. So, like non-binaries, they're not trans, but they don't identify as a male or female. And so by classifying them in a male-female situation, you're simply stating that they are not allowed to use a restroom in that facility. All right. The whole reason why we even have restrooms that are male-female is because of government influence and government say and lobbyists and blah, blah, blah. All right. Christian values. And so when they came up with a solution where they can actually create a one unit where you would have individual stalls, floor to top, floor to top, where you still have each person would have their privacy, but instead of having like a male female symbol, it would just say toilet. And if you just did that, everybody's accepted. But we just
and the issue is fear is a powerful motivator, and it's not so. It's so rough because I am, as a 38-year-old cisgendered straight white male, I'm like the least qualified person on the planet to be talking about stuff like this. Yeah, because I've never had to experience anything like that.
Yeah,
like I am literally in the most privileged subset of humans that live in this country.
Likewise.
And because of that, I always feel bad trying to bring any kind of any of my logic to it, because I just don't have that. I don't have that experience to know what it feels like. Having said that, fear is a super powerful motivator, and the issue is that a lot of this comes from a fear by people of something that they don't understand. So you tell somebody who grew up in a very strict environment where you had boys and girls, and that's all it was. and you say, well, I don't identify as either one, they're going to be like, what do you mean? You have boy parts, you have girl parts. Like,
Yeah.
biology is not the same thing as psychology.
Yes.
Is not the same. Sex and gender are not the same thing.
Mhm.
But explaining that to some people, they have trouble wrapping their head around it. They fear, and humans in general, we fear what we don't understand. So because of that, you get this stuff that, and look, what I fall onto is people are people. I don't care one way or the other, how you lean, how you identify. It doesn't matter to me if you're a decent person at all. And even if you're not a decent person, you're still a person.
Yeah.
And you're still going to get that level of respect.
Well, I mean,
and that's what I find is like people just want that. They just want the basics of it. I don't know. It's so hard to.
One of the
wrap your head around.
One of the goals that I had when I started this show is to help bridge the gap, because I am a cisgendered male. I understand that I'm a super privileged individual, and I'm also an ally. I know all of this. My child is going through the phase right now where they're finding themselves. They came out last year, and we celebrate them like, hey, yeah, absolutely. And then they're like, you know what? I'm a non-binary child, and we're like, okay, what does that mean? Like, so we're on, as a parent, we want to learn all of this, and then at the same time, we're finding out how much we don't know. And then by us learning and talking to other trans and non-binary and so forth and so on, we're like, okay, we needed to figure out a way to like bridge the gap. Like, yeah, I want to make it a comedy show. I want to make sure we're doing improv. Absolutely. But I also like talking about real things that are bothering people out there that, maybe people don't really understand. Like, I can get into some conversations where a local child gets beat up for being a trans male, and there's no reason for it. Like, he was hospitalized because he identified himself as a male, and they didn't see it. And it's like, bro, like, even if you're like, you're stupid, like, where does it give you the right to hurt anybody? Like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And it gets so chaotic. And what it is people just, they want to have this power, and they feel like if you give any power away, that they have to try to force it back. And that's what it comes down to.
It really does. And there's too many people that think, oh, if I prop up this person or this group of people, or I'm an ally to them, or people are allies to them, that's going to somehow take something away from me. And it's not a fucking pie.
No.
Like, you can't the Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. All I'm going to say about that is, because I really don't want to go too deep into the weeds on it.
Fair.
All lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter.
100%
is the perfect way to put it, because it's true. Like,
100%.
I don't, and it's not taking away from other people to say these people literally, they want to matter. That's what they're going for. They're setting the bar so low for what they're asking for, and people are still like, fuck you, and stomping on it. And it's stupid.
It drives me crazy, because they go, all lives matter. Okay. So you're saying Black Lives Matter. Well, all lives matter, but are you saying Black lives don't matter? And they can't say
exactly.
No. Black lives matter, and all lives also matter. Okay. Like, I'm not one of those like abolish the police. I'm not that person. But however, I believe in police reform. I believe that there needs to be common sense reform. I also believe that the government is already in too many fucking pies. They maybe need to back off a little bit. I'm a libertarian by heart. The whole, like, government really shouldn't be in your business. That if you're doing drugs, the government shouldn't even fucking matter. Like, that shouldn't even be an issue. Like, if you want to smoke weed, you should not have a special card saying that you can smoke weed. That,
right.
Like, that's grass, man. Like, why is the government involved in your marriage? Why is the government involved in any of this? And I know I'm like way off topic, but it's just this whole, it's a failure, man. And it's a failure. It's a failure from the top down, and it's causing such a division. I'm
and
sorry.
that's just it. That's the worst part. Is it causes division where we need unity. We
Yeah.
need to be getting along with each other because we've only got this one planet right now. We're burning it out and destroying it.
Yep.
And on top of that, we're yelling and screaming at each other and fighting each other constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to end up as the snake eating its own tail. And we're just going to implode. And what we need is we need to go in the other direction, which is to get along and help each other out and realize, oh, you know what? You're not that different from me. And if you are different from me, oh, well, that doesn't matter.
It doesn't change anything. It just,
no, it doesn't.
You know, I think that's the problem is people don't want to listen, you know, and like a person wants to listen, but people in general don't want to listen. They want to be fed a narrative and just absorb that narrative. You know, there are people out there that are suffering in America, all right, and that are put in positions because we don't have a way for them to speak. As a white male, I know that I fucking have Jumanji in the back because I know that I have the capability of playing that and probably being okay. You know, I can play with my toys. There's kids out there who tried to ride a scooter and get shot. You know, I don't have that. Like I will never understand that. But I also know that I'm not dumb enough to not realize that I'm where I'm at because of my skin and because I have that capability, because somebody created a narrative that allowed that to happen.
Yeah. Yep. And if more people could come to the realization that the American dream isn't so much of I'm going to work harder and therefore be better, because I can guarantee you there are so many people out there that have worked so much harder than I ever have in my life, and they haven't got shit. But I happen to be lucky enough to be born as a white guy in a lily white area of the country, and I have that privilege.
Yeah.
So if more people could come to grips with that and realize, A, know your privilege, and then B, know that you don't know things, and be willing to listen and be willing to have an open dialogue and talk to people.
Yeah.
Because that's the biggest thing. Communication is a huge thing. I mean, if you can communicate well and you can have a conversation with people, you can learn a ton about them and you can find the common ground. So I don't know. It's kind of where I'm at on a lot of that stuff. We sort of flew all over the place. And,
hey, you know what? That's okay though. You know, we have an hour-long show, so I mean, I still have 4 other questions. Like, what actually got you started down your podcasting path, which we found out? Which podcasts that you listened to inspired you to create the podcast that you have?
Oh man, so podcasts that inspired me. There's been a few of them. Some of the early stuff that I listened to. This would have been 2005, 2006 era. Back on my iPod. I think I had like a 4th generation iPod. So this was back when everything was downloaded.
Yeah.
And I was working a job where I could just have a headphone in all day. And I was listening to Leo Laporte.
Oh, yeah,
the Tech Guy in This Week in Tech.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was around when Twit started. I was listening to his stuff because I'd been watching him on Tech TV before that and whatnot. So there was those shows. There was a show from the Atlantic Paranormal Society called Taps Radio.
Okay.
Those were the guys that did Ghost Hunters back in the day.
Okay.
They did a show on paranormal stories because I really like. If you want to go back even further, what really got me into it was I used to listen to Art Bell and George Norrie.
Oh yeah, Coast to Coast. Yeah.
You know, Art Bell. I grew up on Art Bell, and then George Norrie took over, and Art Bell was still doing his thing right up until he died, actually. But I listened to a lot of that, and then I listened to a lot of books on tape. Okay. And so that was really kind of like if you want to really go back to the genesis of what got me into that stuff was that. From there, podcasts, like I say, the Twit Network, Taps Radio. There was one out of Minnesota called Darkness on the Edge of Town, was another paranormal show. I love the paranormal shows because while I've grown to be more and more skeptical of things that are paranormal, it's more of a true use of the term skeptical in that I question a lot of it. I don't dismiss everything out of hand. I don't say, look, ghosts aren't real. They're probably not, but we don't know. But there's certain things that people can experience that I can't explain and nobody can explain. A lot of it can be explained, but it's that 1%, that 2% that don't make any sense. That's what keeps me interested in things like paranormal. Plus, it makes for good stories. I love hearing ghost stories.
Yeah.
So those were some. And then Frog Pants Network too. Like Scott Johnson's, listening to the morning stream is always good because it's just a fun.
I saw your tweet. I think it was yesterday where you were talking about how Jury got you all cracked up about a small chub. Where were you at, Scott? Where's this Scott from?
And so Jury too. So I listened to back when Brian and Justin were doing NSFW show days, on Twit Network and Night Attack. So it's been a lot. Biggest influence on my show, Wait You Haven't Seen, is probably Film Sack. And I think a lot of that is because that show for me, I think pound for pound, dollar for dollar, has the best chemistry between hosts because it's just 4 friends bullshitting about movies. And it's great because all 4 of them are smart.
Yeah.
They're really well versed in movies. They're funny, but all in a little bit different way. Each one of them brings something different to the table, but they all work so well off of each other, and it's great. And so that was a huge influence for me. I try not to steal too much stuff from Film Sack when I do my own show. But that was a big one. So yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff. And it's less like individual shows and more I followed people. So I followed Leo for a while. I followed a lot of stuff that Brian Brushwood has done over the years, and Justin Robert Young and Scott Johnson, and Tom Merritt is another one.
Yeah.
Whether it was Buzz Out Loud or Tech News Today or Daily Tech News Show, Current Geek, that's another person that for me is a big influence on, because you get somebody like a Schwood or a Jury, and you can see how funny people can be.
Yeah.
And Scott can be super funny, but he also can be insightful and he's knowledgeable. Tom is one of those that like he shows you how you can be a pro. Like a pro's pro.
Yes.
Tom Merritt. So that's kind of what influenced a lot of me is just, listening to these people that they do it for a living and they do it every day. And it's just, you just try to pick up little bits and pieces. I know that all of what I do in terms of talking on a regular basis is just stuff that I've aped from other people.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that because what is it? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but it's also like I'm trying to pick and choose and learn from people doing what I like to do. I like to talk and I like to talk about stuff, but it's good to see people that do it on a regular basis and try to learn some of the tricks that they use and some of the things that they do and what makes it entertaining, what makes it engaging. I've become much pickier in the stuff that I watch. I'll go through and be, in a YouTube hole where I'm just watching video after video, and then I'll come across one and I'm like, oh God, this is terrible, because I can't stand the way the person is presenting it. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel authentic. Seeing somebody like Brushwood is great at being able to be a persona and yet also feel like a person.
Yeah.
You can.
I want to do Brushwood's workshop. I know he has a workshop, and I want to see how he does the create a brand workshop that he's been talked about on Night Attack and other shows.
Yeah, and some of it is kind of creating that persona that you're going to be when you're going to do a show, right?
Yeah.
So, but making that an aspect of your own personality as opposed to something that feels like you're creating and putting on a character. Because not everybody is Daniel Day-Lewis and can just become whatever character they want.
Yeah.
Some of us have to, like, I'm just always some aspect of myself. It might be more amplified in one direction or another. But it's just always parts of me. And good actors, that's what they do, right?
Yeah.
Like really, even the really good method actors, even the people like Daniel Day-Lewis or Robert De Niro or, believe it or not, Shia LaBeouf. The more I see him do stuff, the more I realize he's not a bad actor. He's just insane. Like, he's a crazy person but he's a hell of an actor.
Robert Peterson.
Robert Pattinson.
Pattinson, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you watched that Netflix, The Devil of All Time or something like that?
I haven't yet. No, that's on my list of stuff to watch here soon.
So
my movie watching for new stuff has been so nerfed since I started doing a show, because I spend half my week, prepping for and researching and finding stuff that I'm going to watch and all of that I'm trying to stay up on newer stuff.
It's difficult. I just watched that. It's a film, and it is, without giving anything away, it is well worth a watch. But if that Robert is going to be Batman, the Batman, he needs to step up his acting game. Like, he needs to go to acting coach or something, because it was Edward all over again.
Well, did you see The Lighthouse?
I don't think I have. No.
Okay, that's him, and he's good in that. He's a better actor than you would think. It's just that so many people only think of him as Edward. The same thing happened 10 years ago with Heath Ledger, right? Heath Ledger got cast as a Joker, and this was like, so I used to spend a lot of time in movie forums and websites and casting stuff and all that, and I still do, but I'm not as heavily into it as I was. I need to get back more heavily into it to keep current. But when Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker, 99 people out of 100 were like, "What, the kid from 10 Things I Hate About You and A Knight's Tale and blah blah."
Great movies though. They're great movies.
They are. But he had just done Brokeback Mountain, but a lot of people hadn't seen that. But I remember my initial thought was, wait, they cast Heath Ledger as the Joker, and I had seen him in Brothers Grimm with Matt Damon.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? I think he could be pretty good, because Brothers Grimm, I hadn't seen Brokeback Mountain yet, but Brothers Grimm showed me, oh, this kid's got some range. He's not just the pretty boy from Australia. So I was like, cool. All right, let's see what he can do. And he blew it out of the water. Most actors are a lot better than we give them credit for. Now, actors are different than movie stars. That's a whole other conversation we can have, because Will Smith is that's not a good example, because Will Smith
Christopher
is a good
Walken.
actor.
Christopher Walken.
No,
Walken's got he's got a lot of range, but however, his characters or Jeff Goldblum, their characters are essentially the same. They're they have the same mechanics to all of them. Yeah.
I mean, Tom Cruise does the same thing. He plays the same character a lot, but at the same time, it all depends on what you've seen from them too. Because you could see, I'm trying to think of who the actor was that I remember. I only knew him from certain stuff, and then I saw like some little movie that he did, and I was like, oh, this person can act. It's just that, when you're doing Hollywood big budget things, you're playing that persona and you're playing that character, and you're kind of doing the same thing all the time. Keanu Reeves had a big problem with that for a while, where people thought he was a bad actor. What it turned out was, no, he's not a bad actor. He took some bad choices. He made some bad choices in some roles.
Yeah.
I don't, his attempted British accent in Bram Stoker's Dracula was that was a choice, but it was a choice that shouldn't have been made. But what you find out is, like, Keanu Reeves' strength is being an avatar for the audience.
Yeah.
And then as he's gotten older, he's been able to morph into getting into these personas a lot better. But
New Bill and Ted, have you seen it?
I haven't yet. That's another one I gotta watch. I just watched the Jay and Silent Bob reboot like 2 weeks ago. So
I haven't even seen that one. So I'm good. Yeah. Ace goes, I like Robert Pattinson in what I've seen in the Batman, which, if you want to get I don't know what trailer you've seen, but all he says is, I am revenge. Like, you really don't get much out of him. The rest of it's silent. So, but if you like that,
yeah, I'm giving him a pass. I know he's a better actor than people give him credit for. Okay, here's another one. Here's another example though. Kristen Stewart. Okay, everyone talks about Kristen Stewart, and she's actually not a bad actress.
Okay,
nobody can divorce her from Twilight.
Yeah,
she's terrible in those, but she's not a bad actress. I've seen her in some other things, and she's been really good in them. So
Ace goes, exactly. I like him and not talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm telling you, you got to see him as a preacher in that Devil movie. That movie is a trip, man. But Kristen
That's gonna be
Stewart,
Tom Holland, right?
yeah. Oh, dude, Tom Holland is he's a great actor. He really is. I mean, he's a gymnast and he works out and all that stuff, but dude's got some range. Like he
Oh,
can,
yeah.
yeah, he's got some talent for sure. Kristen Stewart, there was a movie that just came out with her, and we just watched it, and I can't remember what the hell it's called. But yeah,
Was it
no,
the one placed underwater?
what's that again?
Did it take place at like a ocean station at the bottom of the ocean?
Oh yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Underwater, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
think.
Maybe I don't think we watched the whole thing. I think we just watched the trailer for it. So now I'm getting myself confused. But yeah, no, it seems like she did like really well in it. So
Yeah, and you know she's trying to do some new. Like she was a big part of the Charlie's Angels reboot. Now it bombed pretty bad,
yeah.
but I from everything that I read and heard, it wasn't her fault, and she was trying to do a lot of producing with it too.
Oh really?
So, did you ever see Panic Room
Yes.
with
yeah.
Jodie Foster?
Yes.
She was in that. She was good in that.
I don't remember
especially
her being
being
that. Is
like-
that the child?
She was the daughter,
Oh yeah.
but she was like 13.
Yeah.
But you know, she was really good and in that. Yeah, Underwater is the movie you're probably thinking of.
I think it is. Yeah, I think they have a full station underwater, and then it comes like, yeah. So the other one was,
I saw it.
oh man, you just mentioned something. Never mind. Screw it. It wasn't that important. But
It
yeah,
happens.
it's. I mean, people have range. You know, like my wife can't stand Channing Tatum, right? Like at all. Like, and
Mhm.
you know, he tries to be funny, he tries to be sexy, he tries to do all this stuff. He was just in a music video, I want to say with Beyonce or somebody, and my wife's like, "This is the best Channing Tatum's ever been." I was like, "I didn't hear a single word from his mouth." I was like, she goes, "Exactly."
Mm, he's a pretty boy, but
Yeah.
you know, he was one that surprised me with, you know, again, he's kind of usually playing a very similar character, but he's better than you would think. It's just, you know, it's one of those things where people get typecast and you have this idea of what you think they are in your head.
I
right?
think he's
So,
great in like 21 Jump Street.
Yeah, I mean, look at what happens whenever a pro wrestler tries to do a movie. They're immediately looked down at, unless their name is The Rock. And even The Rock early on in his career,
Walking
was thought of as
tall.
like, oh, he was so good in that.
Yeah. But
Anybody that says, I read something somewhere where somebody was saying Dwayne Johnson isn't really a good actor, and I'm like, go watch Walking Tall,
oh yeah.
because that was early in his career and he's good.
Yeah. Him
But
in
they-
Knoxville, great.
Oh yeah, but people get this preconceived notion of like Stone Cold Steve Austin isn't going to be good. Now, granted, he's usually fairly wooden, but
Yeah.
he's good for what he's being asked to do.
I want to say
You know,
John
Dave
Cena
Bautista
just came
was-
out with something too, right? John Cena was in the Daddy film. What's that one called?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, and he's going to be in the Suicide Squad too.
As what?
He actually did a guest spot on Psych a bunch of years ago.
Yeah.
And he was tons of fun in that. You know, Psych had a tendency to bring in wrestlers every once in a while because they were on the USA Network, which carried Monday Night Raw. So they had,
You know what? A lot of wrestlers are performers. That's their gig.
Mhm.
You know, they're performers first. And I think what happens is a lot of people get confused. They don't realize that these are the Peacemaker. He's getting his own series on HBO. John Cena, that is.
yeah. Yep.
Well,
There's that.
we're
He was
we're
in
learning
Doom-
all kinds of things today.
Yeah, I knew. Well, Peacemaker. So Peacemaker is the character he's playing in the Suicide Squad, and they're going to spin that out into a series on HBO.
Oh, sweet.
What they're talking about. He was in Bumblebee. I actually liked him in Bumblebee quite a bit.
That's what it is. Bumblebee. Yeah, Bumblebee. I mean, he was the army vet or the army that was army dude trying to take over or take down Bumblebee, and then yeah. No, he's got a lot of character. I think that people don't understand how much they have to act, and like Schwood had oh God, who on there the other day, and they were like talking about the fact that acting is basically, yeah, you're gonna get hit, but for the most part, you're doing a gig. You're trying to make sure that you're being entertaining, and
Yeah.
you have to be able to act in some way.
I give a lot of leeway to any like pro wrestlers that branch out into film and television, because more often than not, they're getting cast in something for their physical attributes more so than their acting ability.
Yeah.
Like, and it's unfortunate. Now, look, for every Dwayne Johnson, you're going to have a John Morrison, right? Who's, I saw whatever movie he did and he was bad in it. But that beside the point, like, not everybody is going to be a great thespian. However, give them a chance, because a lot of people are better than you would think.
Yeah.
Athletes that try to act, now that can be a little bit different,
Shaq.
but they're not asked to be.
Shaq and Shazam is all you have to say about actors that are athletes.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good one. But they're not,
I mean, you can go imagine Michael Jordan and Looney Tunes if you really want to get,
yeah. I mean, you got Michael Jordan, you got, all the athletes that were in like The Longest Yard or any of that kind of stuff. But the thing with it is, like, their job is to be good at a sport. Their job isn't to be an entertainer who's also very athletic.
Yeah.
A pro wrestler, their job is to not only be athletic, but to be entertaining at the same time and charismatic. And the ones that are good at that can act because they're creating a persona and a character, and they're performing that character. Paul White is not the Big Show. They're not the same person. Or Glenn Jacobs is not Kane.
Yeah.
But when he's going to be Kane, he's going to be Kane, kind of thing. John Cena is the same way. I remember hearing an interview with John Cena many, many years ago, where he was he was an offensive lineman in his high school football team. And the guy asked him, like, how did he get into wrestling? He's like, well, I was too small to play college football, and I'm a huge ham, so wrestling just seemed like the smart thing to do. Like, I like to goof around and act, and I was big enough, but not big enough to play college football.
Yeah.
He's like 6'1", 240 in college football. Offensive linemen, they want you to be ridiculously big. Like, so it's insane. So he went where the strengths were going to be. Same thing with, you get a lot of athletes that get injured, but they're also good. And you can get the athletes that have no charisma, don't make it as wrestlers, because they need that part of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a roundabout way of saying podcasts that inspire me are varied, and there's many.
I forgot what the conversation was even about. It was funny because, like, you were talking about Leo Laporte. So I started jumping on the train for podcast, and one of the first things I found was the Daily Tech News Show. But what was it? This Week in Tech or whatever. And I was like, oh, this is about tech. I was part of an MLM. Like, we were a tech MLM, and we were going to sell people tech, blah, blah, blah. You're going to be so rich. And I wanted to learn everything I could about tech. And that's how I found Tom, and that's how I found Leo. And then through the version of Tom, I found the NSFW show. And the first episode I listened to was the one where Leo comes on there, and he's like, it's their New Year's celebration.
Oh, right.
And Leo goes, yeah, you don't have to worry about coming off the air. The very next thing was like, well, I guess it no longer exists.
Yeah.
I was like,
oh, I remember that.
Yeah. And so
it's funny how that works.
Yeah. And so I've been following the DCTV since that point. And, like, I had different names. So, like, people are like, oh, you haven't been around that long. Oh, no, I've been around since a minute. I just didn't have the Rooster Bat moniker. So,
well, that can happen sometimes too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you don't find yourself.
Yeah, you gotta find that online, that name and that persona, and be that person. I was thinking about it earlier today. I was out walking my dog, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a 38-year-old man with bright blue hair.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wearing 2 different colored Chuck Taylors, walking, my
Super
dog
classy.
around the house that I live in by myself, where I, do my podcast talking about a 90s TV show and random movies that people haven't seen before. It's just who I am, and it's what I
Yeah.
enjoy doing. So it took me a long time to find who I am and like who I am, but I have now, and that's helped a lot.
There's work to be put into finding who you are, and like, one of the things my wife and I would talk about, like, what's the expectations of your show, right? So what are the expectations of your show? Like for me, I want to get started. The expectations of my show was to help bridge the gap from being a cisgendered parent and understanding the LGBT community, and then at the same time, bring a little humor into the world, because this is a dark fucking year. And so, that was my goal. Like, I know that I'm not the one to speak on behalf of the LGBT community. I understand that, like I don't know their daily sacrifices. I understand that. But if I can help a cisgendered individual understand what's going on in their world, and they can open up their mind a little bit more, then I feel like I accomplished something. Like I told you, I hopped on somebody else's podcast where they told me I can interview other podcasters. They allowed me that. And I was like, super cool. Thanks, guy. And then in the same conversation was like, yeah, I knew gays were a sin, but I was taught, maybe I shouldn't be. I was like, what?
Yeah. Wait. Huh?
Hold on. We're going to talk about this. We're not passing by this. This is not a conversation we just skip over. Let's go into this gays are a sin thing. Let's rewind this a little bit. Let's go into the Bible a little bit. Come on, my friend. I got a Bible. You got a Bible? I got a Bible. Let's talk about this.
Yeah. So goals for my show. So really, Wait You Haven't Seen was born out of nothing more than it's just what I do. I love to talk about movies. Back in the day, it was going to the 24-hour diner, and either after going out to see a movie or after the bar closed or just on a random night, and sitting there with coffee and a pack of cigarettes and talking about a movie and talking about whatever. I don't know if you ever saw a series that was on YouTube for a while from Cracked called After Hours.
And I think I saw like maybe one episode.
Yeah. So the premise of the show was it was 4 friends sitting at a diner overnight, and they would just talk about a random topic. And what I loved about that show was that was the type of thing that we would do. It would be like the conversations you would have are like, boy, wouldn't it be, what would be your favorite fictional universe to live in? Like if you could live in the world of Star Trek or Star Wars, and you have that conversation, and you're just sitting there drinking coffee and you're hopped up on caffeine at 2:00 in the morning. You're having these conversations. So for me, that was kind of where it came from. I started this just like, I just want to talk about movies with friends of mine. So I had I had like 7 or 8 friends that I could rotate them in, anywhere from 1 to 4 of them on an episode. And then as we got going, I started to branch out and I started to bring in more people. I was lucky enough to be selected to be on a podcasting reality competition last year called America's Next Top Podcaster
by Brian Emmett.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was a huge shot in the arm, not only for me as a podcaster and what I was able to learn, but branch out and meet other podcasters that were outside of the circle of people that I knew personally.
Yeah.
So, and then it was just, hey, I just want to keep having these conversations. So my goal has always been just to like share movies with people, because movies are one of those things that can really unite a lot of people. It can divide people too.
Yeah.
Everything can. But it's great to show somebody a new movie and hopefully they're going to like it, or have them show me one. So like one of the episodes that I always, because the only rule for my show is that one person on the episode can have not seen the movie before. That's it. It doesn't matter if it's me or if it's the guest, or if I have 3 guests and only one of them hasn't seen it. It doesn't matter. there's no restriction on era of movie or genre or country of origin or anything like that. And what's great about that is one of my favorite episodes that I've done was me seeing the movie Amelie for the first time, because I knew nothing. I had never seen it. I knew of it. I loved it. It was a fantastic movie. And it was a special thing for my guest, because my guest Amy that was on, that was like her favorite movie ever. So it was I got to feel what it's like to be the person being shown somebody's favorite thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really cool thing. So I just like to have that conversation. Now, if I can somehow spin this into being what I do all the time, doing this kind of content creation and having these conversations, and whether it's about movies or music or TV or whatever, and I can make that sort of a self-sustaining thing, that'd be great. But, you got to start somewhere. So even if I never make a dime off of this, it's just fun to do.
Yeah.
And it's a hobby. It's a great hobby to do. And I'm meeting some amazing people. I mean, I met you. You were great. You were a wonderful guest to have on. And it was great to be able to show you a movie that I enjoyed so much.
Yeah.
And to have you like it as well. And I've met some amazing people doing this, and it's just getting better and better. So, my goal is just to continue to enjoy it. If it ever gets to the point where recording a show becomes, I don't want to do it,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll stop. Because right now it's energizing for me.
That's
Sundays when we record, and I can be worn down from the week and tired, and all of a sudden like 5 o'clock in the afternoon hits, and I know I'm only a couple hours from recording time, and I get that burst of energy.
Yeah.
So
that's how I got with Star Trek. So I started watching every episode of Star Trek, and come to find out, I am not a Trekkie. Like I think there's like a lot of great stuff there, but it's not like something that I wanted to wake up and do in the first thing in the morning. And I was like, I can't even, like, how many Vulcan salutes is this? Right now, it's none. It's not even like I had no joy for it, no passion for it. So, and if you don't have passion for something, it's hard to maintain, and that's like you said, coming up with a group of friends and stuff like that. That's why I love talking to people. I hate talking by myself. I love being able to bring people on, and, especially like you, I mean, your first podcast, I'm like, hey man, like I want to watch a movie. Like, what do you say? You're like, yeah.
It's great, because I'm always looking for more guests, and sometimes it's hard for me just in my own personality to be like, hey, do you want to be on my show?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because it's just a thing. So it usually helps for me to have some sort of a rapport with somebody before I ask them to be on. Mm-hmm. But I also don't have a problem if somebody's like, hey, would you want to have me on your show?
Yeah.
Sure. I don't see a reason why not. I'm going to do a little bit of, I'm not going to do like background checks on people, but I'm going to just check and make sure that, the sensibility matches.
Yeah. As you should,
Yeah. But I mean, I loved the fact that you did that, because that was the first time that happened for me, where somebody was like, hey, I want to be on your show. What do you think?
Yeah.
And that was really cool. And it was a great experience. And it sounds like it was a good experience for you too, which makes me feel even better, because.
Oh, absolutely. For me, it was a learning experience, because one, I wanted to, I don't know what I'm getting into, I'm not even a year into this gig. But I knew that if I at least, stuck inside the Diamond community and go, okay, all right, Travis has a show. He's got something going on every week. Maybe I can be able to at least, if he says no, then maybe I could just at least pick his mind, And I was like, it's fair. I didn't see anybody else with a show per se. I'm sure there are other people like Jackie Hearn. I'm sure they have something going on, but for the most part, like, Scott, he's got a Friday game. BK is also do the Friday and Saturday games, but they don't have shows. So when I wanted to pick their minds, like, I would hop on the Discord with them and like chat with them. But you were the only one that I knew for a fact had a show, and I was like, hey man, like, I would love just the opportunity. Like, even if you said no, like, I would love the opportunity. And then we're like, yeah, sure. I was like, cool. Like, what do you want to watch? He's like, no, you make the list. All right, I will be right back. And then I think I sent you a Google Doc with like 15 movies that I haven't seen, and I broke them down by MIDB reports and stuff.
Yeah. Yep. And so that was perfect because that let me go through and be like, okay, done that one, check
Yeah.
all those off the way. And then it was, okay, let's parse this down. No,
Yeah.
that was awesome. And like my thing has always been, I try to be consistent with my show too, for two reasons. Number one, I think it makes a show better early on to be consistent.
Yeah.
It also keeps me from pod fading, right? Because it's too easy. If you take a week off, it's way too easy to, I can do that again, or it's 2 weeks, no big deal, I'll get back to it next week. Never do today what you can put off until tomorrow. So I've tried to stay consistent.
Remember,
but
kids,
again,
procrastination is key.
Exactly. But my thing has been the consistency for me is important because I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
And the Highlander show, we've had a few weeks that we've had to skip for one reason or another. But I don't feel as bad doing it there because I've established now that I am going to be consistent for myself. Like I could take weeks off from What You Haven't Seen. I just don't want to because I enjoy it too much. I really look forward to that every week. Like it's the big passion thing. I'm in the works trying to come up with, I've got a few other ideas of things that I want to do that might or might not happen. Kind of on the back burners right now that that I'm working on getting going forward, as well as doing things like this, guesting on shows. I love coming on to other people's shows and talking whatever it is if they want me on. What the big thing I need to do is I need to start doing another round of kind of the networking and start talking to other people that are into film Twitter. There's a lot of that, and that's something I need to do where I can do some like, hey, do you want to be on my show, or would you want to have me as a guest on yours, or vice versa, do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Problem is half of them that I follow are from New Zealand and Australia, so scheduling is a nightmare there.
Yeah.
But,
I guessed on the Awfully Irish Boys, and they're 8 hours ahead of us. And
yeah,
so it's like, yeah, no, we can do it, but like you need to do it like 6 o'clock in the morning. Dude,
I had to do that with the Retro Cinema podcast. They're out of Australia, Gidget Von LaRue, and I was like, well, you know what? We can make this easier. I'll get up, and so it was like a Sunday morning at like 8:30 in the morning or something, 9 o'clock in the morning. You don't have to get up that early. No, it's fine. We can do that. No big deal. But it was worth it because it was a fun show to do, and I got to talk about one of my favorite movies ever, which was Running Scared. And if anyone that knows me knows that I love that movie. It is my favorite buddy cop movie. So that was a great discussion.
Running Scared?
Retro Cinema. Yeah, it's Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines. It's a buddy cop movie from 1986. FilmSack just did it recently too, mostly because I badgered them until it showed up on Prime.
Not the 2006, right?
Not the one with Paul Walker. Nope, it's Billy Crystal.
Okay.
It's on Amazon Prime right now. You can watch it. It's way too funny, but I love that movie. I unashamedly love that movie. So when I got the opportunity to talk about it, I'm like, I don't care if I have to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday to talk about this. I will do it. Like, I'm fine. I don't have to be on camera. So not that I really care about that. Clearly, if you can see me, you know that. But
well,
I just love doing this stuff. So as long as I have the energy and the desire to do it, I'm going to keep doing it. As long as people will let me talk.
Oh, absolutely. And where can people find you? Oh, wait. Sorry. And you know what? I agree, man. I think it's amazing that you came on. No. Where can people find you?
So, basically, if you look for TV's Travis on any social platform, if I'm on it, that's my name, TVS Travis. I managed to find a relatively unique username. So I'm pretty active on Twitter, and I have tvstravis.com, which is where I host Wait You Haven't Seen. The Highlander show is on anchor.fm/Let's Watch Highlander. Both of those are weekly. They come out Wednesdays and Thursdays. Mm-hmm. I record twitch.com or twitch.tv/tvstravis Sunday nights. Monday nights, I do some game streaming on there too. So easiest places to find me are probably Twitch and Twitter is where I'm most active. I mean, I do stuff on Facebook. I do stuff on Instagram, but I would say the most active places are Twitter and Twitch. I do Classic Adventure Game Time, which is old old style point and click adventure games a couple days a week, just because I love those games and it's a fun casual thing I can sit back and play. I just finished a game called Unavowed, which was a ton of fun, that I had no idea if I was going to like it or not. We're coming into October, so I think I'm going to try playing Alan Wake, which isn't a point and click adventure, but it's kind of an adventure game and it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll scare myself for no reason. You know, nothing like playing a scary game when you live alone.
You have a dog.
That's true. I do. You can see him sleeping in the background. But yeah, those are the places. tvstravis.com and Twitter and Twitch. TV's Travis.
Sweet. And as always, you guys can find us at roosterbatshow.com, or you can find us on Twitter at twitter.com/roosterbatshow. And until next week we have a musician, cross-gendered musician, Crystal. She's going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to hanging out with her and learning about her journey. All right. Talk to you later.
Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum.
Greetings. Welcome to Curious Nixons, where we lead you through the darkness.
We'll be discussing all things sinister and disturbing.
If you're interested in hearing about true crime, the paranormal, witchy, and downright weird stuff,
then you're in the right place. We'll see you on the other side.